There are truths and there are truths. Let's see if we can sort out the difference between truths and truths. A truth, like a mathematical truth, is something that you know, but it's not something that you can know better or more. In Torah, there are truths that we can know, but they don't impact us. They don't have an effect. So let me go through this a little bit more clearly and slowly. Let's say that Torah gives you instructions as to what to do. So people who are more disciplined, it's easier for them to comply. If they're less disciplined, it's more of a challenge. But when there's a truth, so then that truth can affect a person's attitudes. It can affect their self. And so it's not that you need to comply with the truth. The truth becomes part of who you are. And when it becomes part of who you are, your reactions will naturally be affected by those truths. Let's try out an example and let's see if we can work with it. The Gemara in Shabbos tells us that Reish Lakish taught that the world exists because of the Hevel Pihem Shel Tinokos Shel Beis Rabba. The world exists because children learn Torah. And children learning Torah keeps the world, it allows the world to exist. So a person can know that, having learned the Gemara at the end of Masechah Shabbos, a person can know it. In Yiddish, they use the expression zu herin as opposed to der herin. To know something has degrees to which we know it. We can know it to a point where we can answer the question correctly on the test. And we can know it to the point where it actually impacts and affects our attitudes, reactions, and feelings. It's one of the reasons why in Chazal you'll always feel and sense that in Amora, Hu Haya Omer, or in the Mishnah in Avos, Hu Haya Omer, there is this sense of repetition. And it is that repetition that actually brings the message closer to one's heart. There's a story that is told in the Gemara. It's also brought in the Medrash. The story told about Alexander Mokto. It doesn't matter whether the story happened or not. The story is meant for us to learn a very important lesson. Alexander Mokdon, says the Medrash, surrounded a city of women. And when he had laid siege to the city of women, so one of the women came out to speak with him and said to him, "You have nothing to gain here, because if you win, it will not be a feather in your cap, because you will have won and defeated a city of women. And if, on the other hand, you lose, you will have egg all over your face. You'll never be able to speak to the king again, because you'll have lost to a city of women. So you have nothing to gain in this city." And the Medrash goes on, and the Gemara in Talmud, it's brought in several places, this story. He had a gate erected to this city. And the inscription on the gate was, "I, Alexander Mokdon, was a melech shatya. I was a fool until I came to this city, and I was enlightened by the woman of this city." Now, there is nothing that this woman told him that he didn't already know. He knew the information. He knew the truth. But it hadn't yet become his to the point where it actually affected the way he conducted himself, the way he pursued, in this case, pursuing a siege. So he felt that the difference between him knowing something and him at the point where he has internalized it and it's actually making a difference, the difference between those two is like the difference between a fool and a wise person. Let's take another example. The Pasuk in Koheles Tes Yud Aleph tells us, Lo lalakalim hamerot, that the victor in a race is not the most fleet-footed, and the victor in a battle is not the one who is the biggest gibor. He's not going to be the victor. And you say, I know that. We say it every day. We say it, Ele barecha ve'ele basusim v'anachnu b'shem Hashem Elokeinu nazkir. We say that all the time, every single day. We know that victory is not because of the fleet-footed or because of the strength of the gibor. We know that. But we don't know it. We know it, but we don't deher it, because it will impact our relationship with any hishtadlus that needs to be done. Any effort that needs to be made is really a factor of the degree to which I have internalized these truths. Doesn't mean that we won't still do hishtadlus. But the hishtadlus is completely different when we internalize the truth. Here's another such a truth. The Gemara tells us that a voice calls out every day, Kol ha'olam nizon bishvil chanina b'ni. The whole world is sustained because of one tzaddik. The whole world. The whole world gets sustenance because of one tzaddik. And that tzaddik, it goes on to say, manages on extremely, extremely little. That tzaddik manages to get through the week on next to nothing. But the voice from heaven announces that the whole world is sustained in his merit. Now, I know that. We know that the righteous sustain the world. I don't think anybody would get the question wrong on the test as to how the world is sustained because of the righteous. But if you take that chazal and you repeat it, and you repeat it again, and you keep on drilling that chazal and image it, imagine it, think of the whole world, billions of people are all being sustained because of one tzaddik, then you will have brought that truth closer home, and in the process, it will affect your attitudes. And so when you hear, for example, that a tzaddik is ill and needs tefillos, it'll be a different world. Because now you understand something better than you understood it before. But you didn't find out anything new, just like Alexander did not find out anything new. I'll throw out another one. This one, of course, related to what we were just talking. The Pasuk in Zechariah says, Lo b'chayil v'lo b'koach ki'im beruchi. That it's nothing, a military strength does not in any way determine the outcome. Ruach Hashem determines the outcome. So I know that. I read the pasuk. It's part of a haftorah that we read every year, talking about the menorah. And so we read it, we know it, we've heard it, but repeating it And so we have in Pirkei Avos, Yehi Ratzon milfanecha Hashem Elokeinu ve'Elokei Avoseinu shetein chalkeinu b'savrasecha. Okay, you requested it. So why are you always repeating it? The answer is a person might know that all knowledge and wisdom and understanding comes from Hashem. He might know that. He might even get the answer right on the test. So Soloveitchik used to say, when you take 3 steps forward into Shemona Esrei, you have to focus on the fact that Hashem is the Chonein La'odam Das. Only. He's the only one. When you take 3 steps back, he used to say, and you step out of Shemona Esrei, you have to learn Torah as if it's all up to you. As if you're the only one, and if you don't learn it and you don't understand it, then you're not going to get it. Knowing that you're going to come back to Mincha, and you're going to take 3 steps forward, and you're going to acknowledge that it's all up to Hashem. So that acknowledging that it's all up to Hashem is something that most people who daven 3 times a day and say the words Ata Chonein La'odam Das, I would say that most people would get the answer right on the test. That if somebody knows something, on what basis do they know something? And the answer is because Hashem grants them that knowledge. How many times do I need to repeat that? And the answer is every time you repeat it and you think about it and you dwell on it, you're bringing that truth closer to who you are, and it will affect your attitudes. It'll affect your responses. You'll be bringing it home. It's far more than just in a CBT sort of sense. You'll be bringing the truth home to the point where you are now a transformed person. You become more closely aligned with the truth. And that's really what Das Torah is. What Das Torah is becoming more and more aligned with the truths that maybe many people know. These are not necessarily truths that are hidden, esoteric truths that are only found in Kabbalistic literature that nobody knows about. And so the holy person he knows things that the rest of us don't know. It doesn't necessarily mean that at all. It can mean truths that everybody knows and that people have talked about and but they have not dwelled on it to the point where it has become them, so that their reactions, their responses, their natural responses, if you will, have become closer aligned. And that never ends. That process goes on forever. There is no truth contained in the Torah that a person would not benefit by repeating that truth, dwelling on that truth, stelling, if you will, stelling on that truth with an eye towards aligning himself, bringing it home. That, of course, has to mean that I don't have it. I don't own that truth naturally, the truth that I need to be taught by the Torah. And I can align myself by my repetition, by imaging it. It's called Koach HaTziur, by imagining. Just imagine that there's one tzaddik, and we're all eating food. We're all having food because one tzaddik has the merit to allow the whole world to eat food. But I know that. I read that Chazal. You read it, and you may know it, but you hear it. But you get to a point where it is now yours.